Okay, welcome back to Not Financial Advice. Today we're going to be taking a look at Ulta Beauty and the value of its stock, currently trading at $472 a share. Before we get started, I'm going to ask you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will just jump right into it. So, taking a look here on the recent price performance of the stock, um, the stock is up around 17 or 18% a year on average over the last 5 years. And if we look at a trend line, it appears that the stock is close to fair value. Um, One thing that has not been the case always with Ulta Beauty in the past is that there's been a slight decline in its price, which um, you don't this would be described as a power stock. So there's not many times when you're going to see a 15% drawdown in the price or a 14% drawdown in the price. And that's what we're looking at currently. Along with the headline of the video, Ulta Beauty has just reported its recent quarterly results. And so the stock is up. The stock is up 14% in the last 5 days, up 11% just in the last day of trading. And so while we're here, we might as well take a look and see what sort of results Ulta Beauty was able to deliver. What we can see here is that just a few days ago, towards the end of last week, so November 30th, 2023, Ulta Beauty beat moderately on top and bottom lines. So they beat by 1.92% earnings per share, reporting over $5 a share in earnings. Also beat on revenue by 0.75%, doing $2.5 billion of revenue in the recent quarter to return results. And so when we think about Ulta Beauty and we're looking at the price of its stock, let's just get a good understanding of who this company is. So, this is a retailer of beauty products in the United States. They have several thousand stores and an opportunity to add thousands of more stores over the next few decades. Um, but yeah, it's been a strong performing stock. Let's get into metrics that matter with Qualtrim so we can get an idea of what Ulta Beauty's share price is actually worth. It's trading for $472. Let's see if we can get a good fair value estimate on the stock. Um, as we're getting started here, I'll ask you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will start taking a look at some of the data we have on Qualtrim. As always, Qualtrim is a suite of software that I pay for to look at stocks, but it's not something that I'm affiliated with. So I'll leave a link for Qualtrim in the description below. But right away, what we can see is that Ulta Beauty shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q3 sale results and revised fiscal year 2023 guidance probably upward. So the stock rallied 11% at the end of the trading week in one day. Taking a look at some metrics here, Ulta Beauty has a market cap of $23 billion, so a large cap stock. It has a forward PE of 15.8, which is pretty moderate, to be honest with you. There's a nice 4% free cash flow yield. And the company currently has a couple $100 million of cash. So let's see what we can garner from Qualtrim when looking at the financial results of Ulta Beauty. So revenue on Ulta over the last 10 years, the company has grown its revenues by 17.5% a year on average over the last 10 years. So 17.5%. That's something that we're going to be taking a look at. And we're going to be using that in our estimate of Alta's fair value estimate. One thing I think this is a good time to look at it. Let's take a look and see how the company did during the Great Financial Crisis and the recession, which kind of started around 2007. So they did 755 million in revenue, and the recession, um, was starting to wind down depending on who you ask, 2009, 10, 11. But if we just go from 2007 to 2009, they went from 800 million in revenue to over a billion. So in recessions, this stock seems to do well. This is going to be the COVID crash. So masks make up less, but a nice strong rebound here and great growth. If this included some of the quarters from 2019, you can look at 7.4 billion. Black Swan event, give it a little bit of time to recover, 8.6. So really resilient revenues growing at 16.5% on an annualized basis. So when we think about revenue, that is a big old green check mark. Check mark on revenue growth, top line revenue growth for Ulta Beauty. Let's also take a look at free cash flow. So up and to the right, not by a little, by a lot. Uh, Revenue or free cash flow growth on an annualized basis over the last 10 years is an incredible 41% a year. So just absolutely insane parabolic growth in free cash flow. Doing over $1 billion of free cash flow last year. That's getting ahead of myself, but a check mark. So we have 2 check marks looking at Ulta Beauty. Let's see what else we can learn here. So they hold a cash position around $600-700 million in cash. I do show some long-term debt on this company. I went and looked at it was the Wall Street Journal I looked at. They do have some long-term debt, which is not showing up here on Qualtrum, but they do a good job with keeping some cash on hand. So um, as far as everything I could tell, um, I believe that I rated this as a green check mark, but if I was mistaken, I'll correct it in editing. So let's take a look at some more stuff, other important things. So shares outstanding. The company's buying back shares over the last 10 years, an average of 2.2% a year. Check mark. Love that. Loving this company, loving this stock. So looking at return on invested capital, it's going up and to the right. I mean, that's huge. So return on capital employed, rather, they're sitting somewhere in this 30% range, which is top notch. Really fantastic profitability with Ulta Beauty. Really just outstanding. Let's take a look at their profit margin as well, growing up and to the right. A nice healthy margin of around 10% on their bottom line profit margin. So when it comes to their profit margin, check mark. And again, if I didn't mention it, check mark on return on capital employed as well. So looking at Ulta Beauty, let's get a sense of the historic valuation of this company. I think it's currently trading around a 15 PE, 15 forward PE. Historically, this company likes to trade closer to about um, a 35 PE, 30 PE, and it's trading closer to 15. So Ulta is on a historical basis at a pretty big discount to its historic PE ratio. So that's going to be another check mark on this company. So we're just completely um, in the green over here. Everything looks great. Let's look at their expenses. From 2018 or even 2019, their expenses are going down. A remarkable check mark. They have aced every single metric. So we can have a sense that this company might be a little bit expensive, but it might also be worth it. So taking a look here, some insiders are selling Alta stock. Um, when insiders buy company stock, that's a green check mark because the only reason that an insider buys stock in a company is because they think it's going to go up. But insiders can sell for many reasons. So this guy probably wanted a yacht. And so that doesn't require a rating. But besides that, everything looks absolutely fantastic. I want to just if you're not familiar with Ulta, I just want to give you a little bit of a sense of who this company is. So, um, what percent of revenue is online for Ulta Beauty? So in 2022, their online revenue was $2 billion. That's a sizable chunk. I think 15-20% of their revenues online, is just from rough figures here. But this is a really cool figure that we have. So 31% of online orders were fulfilled through buy online, pick up in store, also known as BOPIS, and ship from store. Um, BOPIS sales increased 32% and represented 25% of Ultra's e-commerce sales. So they have that, online retail as well as hybrid channels, which was sort of devised or developed in the pandemic. They might have been ahead of the curve, but they figured out different ways to sell retail products. And I think that women are going to like to be able to smell perfume, to try out lipstick on their hand. And I don't think that retail in the beauty space is going to go 100% online. Quite the contrary, this company's results are looking really good. Um, so just to get a little bit of a better sense of who this company is, they're very popular with Gen Z and millennial consumers, but actually all age groups, middle age as well as older. But they have a lot of loyalty, a lot of viral buzz around TikTok and short reel type format videos. So the demographics are looking really good on the company. Just some more information, and this one is pretty remarkable. So 95% of their revenue comes from um, members of their Ultimate Rewards loyalty program. That's kind of nuts. I didn't realize it was as high as that, but it doesn't surprise me. So I'm, in just making this query, Ulta Beauty loyalty program percentage of customers, just seeing multiple sources here, 95% of their revenue. Uh, 95% of Ulta Beauty sales are attached to its loyalty program, and an astounding statistic. Again, another source, 40 million members of their rewards program, 32 million members of their rewards program, more than 95% of the sales. Another source, 95% of Ulta's revenue is coming from members of Ulta Beauty. So that's sort of giving Costco vibes. Let's see, to like the video, subscribe to the channel, just as we're wrapping up this video. But let's see if we can get a sense in Ulta's most recent investor presentation, just any more insights we can garner about this fantastic company. So 4.5% comparable store sales. So as they open stores, old stores aren't hemorrhaging customers. So that means they're actually growing. More information that we can get here. Ulta Beauty. So it's under 2,000 stores. It's just about 1,400 stores across all 50 states. Um, And then here's sort of the breakdown of their sales for products by category type. So 42% cosmetics, 21% hair care, 17% skincare, and then 14% fragrance and bath. So that gives us a sense of Ulta, sort of the vibe of the store, who the customers are, what type of products they're selling. Here's some products that they feature. So this sort of gives us a good finger on the pulse of what's going on with Alta. Let's come back over here and remind ourselves of the price of the stock. So $472 stock. Um, this thing's just up and to the right. This is certainly a power stock, and as I mentioned, up 11% since it, you know, modestly beat earnings. I'm sure they have very high expectations for what they're going to do. But if we just look at this company here is a decline. There's actually a pretty steep decline in 2017. There's a steep decline there. A pretty steep decline, that we saw there, actually. So every 3 or 4 years, we're seeing a decline. And then we saw a decline recently. I own some of this stock. Um, there was another decline that we saw there. So we just see this pattern. If you notice any sort of decline that's around 25, 35%, it's going to bounce back. And that's what it's done, and that's what it's doing. Just going to share with you here, sort of where I'm at with Ulta Beauty. So I own around just under $500 of it. I'm up about 9%, which is about $62. It's not one that's a huge, it's less than 1% of my portfolio. Um, I noticed it when it made that 30% drop, and have added it a few times along the way. So currently, I do have some exposure to this stock. Let's get back over here and figure out the price on this thing. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Ulta Beauty is trading at $472. If we can remember the revenue growth rate on Ulta Beauty, so it was 16.5% on average over the last 10 years. So let's get an idea of what the fair value of this $472 stock is. And this is data that I pulled in from Qualtrim as well as from the Wall Street Journal. But what we can see is free cash flow, around $800 million of free cash flow on average over the last 5 years, about $400 million in cash. I show $1.62 billion of long term debt, around 50 million shares. I put in some very conservative numbers for their growth rate at 12.5%, 9%, and 3%. Required rate of return or discount rate of 10%. So about a $472 stock, fair value 405. So I think the stock is possibly a little bit overvalued at the moment. I just want to play with this. I think they could get a little bit more credit here, to be honest. So still showing overvalued, but its value might range somewhere in that $410 range, 420. Um, and depending on how you want to look at it, the stock, on every single um category that we have, it's just absolutely fantastic, a super high quality company. So yeah, I mean, if you reduce your required rate of return and you're okay with 8 or 9%, to be conservative, it could be considered fair value today. So this company is probably um, this company is probably a buy, um, not like a bang your fists on the table buy, but certainly something that I don't think I'm going to be losing money on moving forward. And so I'm happy to hold at this rate. Um, I might wait for a little bit of a pullback, but if you ever see a nice, 15, 25, 30% pullback, that could be a good time to load up into this stock. So like the video, subscribe on the way out, not financial advice. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.